Hi, just a quick following on from previous mention of looking through this book here about signs, sigils and ciphers. Just a couple of things struck me going through it, so I just wanted to quickly mention it. First of all, overlaps very well with this book that Liz got me for Christmas about John Dee, who's someone that's always really fascinated me. Keen to read more into him. I love the fact that he was such a notable scientist, but also indulged in magic and conversations with angels. But just looking the first beginnings of this book, it was putting it into context with the time of John Dee, how a lot of what was actually considered scientific discovery at the time was actually looking back to find lost knowledge from previous eras. And it overlapped here with the start of this book, talking about the origins of magic writing in medieval Renaissance magic writing, and the splits that started between alchemy and chemistry, astrology, astronomy. But going into the idea of symbols, I was struck by something I read which linked in with my novel The Individual, where there's a boy in a world where they don't have any language, and he finds a piece of a sign from our world and traces the letters and how they move, tracing the lines up and down. The letter U, obviously he doesn't know the letter, so he just traces the curve, and it reminds him of a crescent moon or like a water slide. So it's the idea of reading this where the origins of these symbols were taken from the real world, the observable world, and to represent the heavenly bodies and the natural world. And these form symbols, and these would then become the basis for language. And the letters of the alphabet can be classified as compound signs. L is a single line, F has 2 lines, E has 2 lines. The letter B has a single straight line and 2 curved lines. So it was just the very building blocks of the letters came from these symbols. And I was also struck where it says the formation of new signs on the grid pattern consists of removing some elements so that only those remaining are made visible and recognisable. The letters of some alphabets are said to have been created on schema. And I like that idea as well, because it's where absence, taking things away, and what's left is what conveys meaning. So you've actually got the greater absence behind which the letters or the symbols are formed. So, and this also linked in with what it said about the circle. The circle is the dot expanded to infinity, symbolising the universe, eternity, unity, eternal motion, but also the abyss and nothing. And this reminded me of work that I did in my academic book around the lost child, but also that linked into language and this idea that there is a nothingness out of which everything which is manifest and physical comes from. So I love that idea of nothingness as not being a negative as we normally perceive it, but actually being a ground of being, a ground of all that is. Reminds me also of the work of David Bohm, B-O-H-M, the physicist, but I'll maybe say more about him as well as I go through later videos. But just a little introduction with a few things that struck me, and links to a different way that I looked at language through academic work prior to being introduced to a lot of these ideas around magic, which obviously Thomas Sheridan has written a lot of and spoken a lot of, and people that are watching this will have already looked into more depth than me, I'm sure, but I'm just looking at the links between these magic symbols and the academic ideas of theory that I previously researched and wrote about. So lots more to come, so hopefully keep watching.